Fuck, dude. Should have backpedaled more. See, brakes are death, yo. Brakes are actually death. If I was backpedaling, I would have been fine. I have a confession to make. The tagline of my channel is "Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous." But I have not even come close to riding my bike every day for the past few months. And because of that, I feel like a complete phony and a hypocrite. I've been in a rut for at least the past month, as the vacation that I took to celebrate Christmas and New Year's is partially to blame, and I also had an unexpected death in the family, which encouraged me to take even more time off and reflect on life and death and all of that fun stuff. For about the past month now, I haven't been doing much, but for me, I feel at my best when I have a consistent schedule, accomplish something productive every day, and when I stay active, which is why I try to ride my bike every day. It's when I feel at my best. But I'm also someone that when I get knocked off of my productivity train, it's easy for me to get into a rut. And the longer that I'm in a rut, the harder it is for me to get out of it. Because of that, I need to take more extreme measures to get me out of a rut. So in this video, I'm going to challenge myself and do something that I've never done before. I'm going to ride my fixed gear up this mountain that I live right next to. It's about 3,000 feet of elevation gain from where I am to my destination on the mountain. It's not super killer, but it's not easy. And for me, this is going to be the biggest mountain that I've ridden up. But before I tackle that mountain, there's some things on my bike that I want to change up to give me that extra kick to inspire me to ride it, and also to make it so I'm not busting my knees when I'm riding down the mountain. First up, I'm finally cutting my steer tube. I would have cut it a lot earlier than now, but I decided to keep it on for the episode of Fixie Points where you all roasted my bike just to give you some ammunition on an otherwise perfect bike. But the first step to cutting the steer tube is to first tap down the star nut with a mallet. This is not the proper correct way. Don't do this at home. There is a very high probability that things could go wrong and that you'd have to take it to a shop anyway. Do as I say, not as I do. Because I'm traveling, I have to make do with the tools that I can get, which means that I have to make do with improper tools, and things could go wrong. I could just take my bike to a shop, but when I was trying to get a cog swapped over on a wheel, I went to a few different shops and all of them told me that they couldn't do it. So if they can't swap a cog over, I'm not going to trust them to cut down a steer tube correctly. My plan is to use this bolt, thread it into the star nut a bit, and then gently tap the star nut in, and hopefully it goes in straight. What I'm doing right now is the equivalent of rubbing Vicks on your chest when you have the flu. What you really need is a doctor. What I really need are proper tools, but here we are. Because I want to cut off so much of this steer tube, and because I need to tap down the star nut pretty dang far, the bolt isn't long enough to tap it down as far as I would like, which means I could either take it to a bike shop and be done, or I could do it the hard way and make a cut somewhere around here so that I can have better access to the bolts to continue tapping it down and just hoping that it goes in straight. If only I wasn't so stubborn, I could just be done with this now, but there's a principle in psychology called the Endowment Effect, often referred to as the IKEA effect, that states people will irrationally overvalue something if it is theirs. Overvalue that rickety desk, or overvalue that hack job of cutting a fork. Because yeah, it might be jank, but at the end of the day, as long as it works, I did this, and that makes me happy. I originally planned on cutting this so that the top cap would be flush with the stem for extra fixie points, but this is honestly already a huge improvement over my previous steer tube length that looked like it was really excited to see you. I'll probably cut it down 10 mil further when I have time off camera. It's just that I want to make sure that my bike is ready to ride tomorrow morning so I can go off that mountain and hopefully not feel like garbage anymore. That was too much water. Now that I'm done with the Ascent Adamant giveaway where you all roasted my bike, I can go back to riding brakes again. I've been sitting on these for about 5 months now, and I've also been sitting on this Physique Microtex bar tape. A lot of you were roasting the fact that I had track grips on my bike, and I agree. I agree that track grips are impractical, but that's exactly why I had them on my bike, because if you think about it from my perspective, I knew I'd be doing this giveaway where you would roast my bike, and that's free content. Reusing the cable for my risers, and of course, it's not long enough, so now I need to go to a bike shop anyway. Luckily, I found a Fixie shop that closes at 9 o'clock, so I still have 2.5 hours to see if they can install my brake cable. But this shop, I've tried to visit it 3 times before, and during their posted business hours at all times, they just weren't open. I'm just gonna go ride and see if they're open. Hopefully they are. I am a little disappointed with myself though, just getting myself in this rut and not riding my bike. And I have no excuse not to ride my bike because it's January and I forget that it's January being in northern Thailand. Like this entire week, the high was 93 degrees. So I really have no excuse not to be riding my bike. The worst thing about riding in Thailand though is the pollution, which kind of sucks because every time I ride I get an asthma attack, but that's still just a minor inconvenience compared to the snow and rain that a lot of you are having to deal with this time of year. Here's the bike shop. Welcome to Thailand, where we're open when we're open. It's a bit disappointing that they're closed, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm getting out of my rut. This is a good warm-up for tomorrow, so I'm just going to keep riding my bike and see what happens. No helmet, no problem. That is the Thai style. Although I don't have brakes, so we'll call it a wash. I found a bike shop to install my brake. In other words, I found a bike shop that was open, wrapped the bars and swapped over my 17-tooth cog over to a 19-tooth to make it a bit easier for climbing. My bike is ready to go, and I wish that I could say that I was ready to go because I am about 5 hours behind schedule. My sleep schedule has been all out of whack for the past month. It's 90-something degrees and really smoky. I'm probably gonna get an asthma attack riding. And if there's anything in the world that I could be doing right now, I would just love to lie in bed and play my Switch. I always say that you should ride your bike because you want to ride it and because it's fun, and that riding should not feel like a chore. But sometimes I get into a rut and my love for cycling fades a bit, and I have to, quote, force myself to ride in order to remember why I love cycling and to not feel like a piece of lazy human garbage. That's why I'm here. This pollution is actually much worse than I was anticipating. I usually ride up to the spot real quick, but with today's pollution, I've already needed to take 2 breaks just to get up here, 2 huffs of my inhaler, and I'm already halfway out of water. It feels like I'm trying to breathe while wearing an extra small children's jacket. I know in my head I can get more oxygen in my lungs, but there's just a cap. It's like I'm being squeezed. And to top it off, I'm only about 20% up the mountain. If I'm being honest, I'm thinking about just turning around and calling it a vlog, but I've seen plenty of people just ride past me and they could be going through their own issues. So if that 65-year-old local on a mountain bike with knobbies can get up this mountain, then I can too. These good boys taking a nap over here are also giving me strength. I'm about a third of the way up the mountain now. I am out of water, just completely out of water. Sweating my pants off, figuratively, not literally, don't get your hopes up. Extremely doubtful that I'll make it to the top today. But I'll just keep going until I have an asthma attack and have to turn around. The good news is, pollution isn't as bad up here. Instead of an extra small child's jacket that I'm wearing, it feels like I'm wearing a medium child's jacket. A bit easier to breathe up here. The bad news is they found me. Unfortunately, my microphone just decided to not work for this short section of the video. That is pretty pivotal to the story. So now I'm going to dub it over like a bad kung fu movie. Look, Ma, I made it. I thought that there would be a nice view here at the top, but it looks like there's just a market, like the rest of Thailand. I'm not even mad that there's not even a quote reward at the top, because I did something today that I genuinely thought I couldn't do, and that's rewarding enough. But now it's time for me to ride down the mountain, which on a fixed gear can be just as difficult as riding up the mountain. The road is narrow and there's a lot of twists, so I hope I don't get hit. Jesus loves you. Maybe? Fuck, dude. Should have backpedaled more. See, brakes are death, yo. Brakes are actually death. If I was backpedaling, I would have been fine. Yo, this hurts my arms. Real talk, just brakeless descending is more comfortable. Am I a fixie fool? Do I prefer brakeless descents? What's happening right now? I might actually be coming up on a breakthrough in the field of fixie tomfoolery. It's been previously thought that brakeless fixed gear riders are doing it purely for the fixie points and the street cred, but after that descent, it may turn out that there's actually some practical benefits to descending and riding a brakeless fixed gear. I installed this front brake on my bike with the intention of being more comfortable while descending, but I found long stretches of that descent where I was way more comfortable just doing it brakeless. When I was relying on the front brake, it was hurting my hands, it was hurting my arms, and it was hurting my nether region. It's an interesting idea, but more data needs to be collected. At any rate, I'm actually genuinely excited to be riding my bike again and to be making these videos again. So my dumb idea of climbing 2,500 feet on a fixed gear actually succeeded in getting me out of a rut. After that ride, I am actually itching to get riding my bike again for the first time in a long time. And speaking of getting excited to ride bikes, a few months ago our channel sponsor Wabi Cycles sent over the Wabi Thunder so I could build it up with my friends over at Faith Gear in Taipei to make the ultimate fixed gear commuter bike. Feel free to check the build up of that bike by clicking the card above. And Fixie famous shout out to Ryan Witt and StanStrong108, as well as all of these other people for their contributions on Patreon to help these fixed gear videos happen. Stop watching me right now if you haven't ridden your bike yet today, because life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous, even if it is just on the rollers, and it very well could be the thing that gets you out of the post-holiday rut.